When you're designing a game with multiple characters and many interlocking systems, it's easy to fall into the trap of leaving certain ideas half-baked before jumping to the next. From the very beginning of Infinicrypt's development, I wanted each character to offer a completely unique experience. Each has their own design goals. The knight is tanky, the wizard swaps spells, and the rogue is quick and crafty. That said, the core gameplay had to feel the same no matter who you play. This brings us to the topic of this video, Maximal Design. Maximal design means squeezing as much gameplay value out of every system before adding new ones. For example, early on in Infinicrypt's development, only the knight had a resource bar in the form of the shield's health. To keep with the idea of maximal design, the wizard was given a mana bar and the rogue a stamina bar. Both ended up completely changing how I made new spells and items for those characters, and added that as a core mechanic common between all three characters. Now, I'm not entirely sure that maximal design is a widely used term, but I think it's helpful to describe this idea. So where does that bring us now? Well, I've received the comment that it would be fun to have a mechanic like the wizard's spell swapping on the other characters a lot. While I thought it could be interesting, I worried about how that would impact the character's design goals. If any of the characters could swap abilities, then what's left of the wizard's identity? Then that started opening up other holes, like why is the knight's main identity a passive one, whereas the others are something you actively do throughout a run? All of these questions led to a single solution, and that was that I had to add a new button. I'd been avoiding adding a new button for a really long time, just because I knew it was a rabbit hole that I'd get stuck in. It opens a can of design worms, but I figured I'd try it anyway. This new button is the skill button, which does different things for each character and opens up completely new playstyles. I'll start with the rogue, who now has a swappable combo finisher. Just like the main combos the rogue has had up until now, these come with their own inputs that must be used before the combo becomes available. I'll go into further detail in later videos, but they shake up what you can do throughout the run without completely changing the fast combo chaining identity of the rogue. The wizard already has a strong identity of swapping primary and secondary abilities, so hitting the skill button just makes him bonk enemies with his staff. It does terrible damage and dazes you, so it doesn't really shake things up too much. It does give you the ability to do damage no matter what spells you have, so you can finally run the blink and fly build you've been dreaming of. And finally, the knight. Oh, where do I start? Well, the knight took the longest because of the previously mentioned problems with what the character's identity actually is. I did add the ability to swap your primary weapon out to an axe or a spear, but it didn't actually change anything about how you played the game. To make matters worse, it felt more like I'd taken something from the wizard and slapped it onto the knight as a band-aid fix, rather than adding something new. After a full day of thinking it through, I finally got it. Tanks in most games aren't just big health bars. In Overwatch, almost every tank has some way to change the conditions of a fight, whether it be through displacement, shields, or pressure. Tanking isn't really about how many hits you can take, but rather how much you can disrupt the fight. That's exactly why the knight is tanky. They disrupt the flow of the game. For example, on any other character, getting hit means you take damage. On the knight, you can block, parry, and stun enemies to prevent it. Following that trend, the skill button had to disrupt the game itself, and that's where the knight's skills finally clicked. Activating them temporarily takes away your control to do a big ultimate style attack. Whether it's a grandiose overhead swing that launches enemies away, a gambling open thrust that flings you forward, or a grand skyward slice that sends you soaring down atop your sword, knight skills will change how you play the knight every time you learn a new one. So how does this tie back to maximal design? I'd gotten so much positive feedback on spell swapping and upgrading from the wizard that I realized I was missing out on adding something unique like that to the other characters. As a side benefit of doing this, I think I now have a better idea as to who my characters are design-wise, which helps me create interesting new items for both the knight and the rogue. And with that, this devlog comes to an end. If you're interested in following Infinicrypt through its development, consider subscribing and joining our Discord server. Let me know what you think about skills in the comments. I'll see you all when I see you next. Bye-bye.